Hello everyone and welcome to my vlog. I decided to give this thing a go again, and what better way to start it than doing it at Goliath 2024. So there's going to be a mix of things. I'm going to show you a bit of a background of Goliath. I'm going to show you a lot of hand histories as well. That's probably going to be the primary focus, but we're going to have a bit of a fun element to the vlog as well, where I take you behind the scenes, stuff outside of poker, taking you to meals alongside fellow pros and staff members and all this type of stuff as well. Going for golf days, there's going to be some football, there's a lot of stuff going on this week, and hopefully I'll give you an insight into all of that as well as the actual poker. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for the rest of the vlog, and yeah, hope you enjoy. So we're not long back from Vegas. It's now Goliath time and Ellie's over there. I'm gonna leave her again, so I'm taking her out for a really nice meal before we go. So just arrived in Coventry now. Bit of a long journey, some delays, some missed trains, but we're here, which is great. Really looking forward to Goliath now, and I mean, the room is great. Shout out to Grosvenor for sorting the room out for us. But the best thing I think about staying here in Coventry is the view you have. And not only have we got a really nice room, we're really close to the casino, but we also have a football pitch out the window. You don't get that very often in hotel rooms. So just off to the casino now. It's big one today, £1,250 main. 500k guarantee. Vegas has been absolute disaster, so I'm hoping now we're back on UK soil, Goliath, this is going to be the one to turn it around. Let's go. First hand of the tournament, and the cutoff opens to 300 at big blind 100. The small blind calls, and I look down at King of Diamonds, Queen of Spades in the big blind. I think this is a really good hand to squeeze with. We don't really want to be out of position multi-way with the offsuit Broadway, so I go ahead and make this 1600 chips to go. The cutoff quickly folds, and the small blind makes the call. The flop comes down 7 of spades, 5 of spades, 3 of hearts. Not the best flop in the world for us. We do have 2 overs. We do have backdoor spade draw as well. So I do elect to go for a continuation bet of 1200, around about 1/3 pot, and our opponent makes the call. The turn is the 8 of spades, which is an interesting one. We do improve to a direct flush draw now. We do have the Queen of Spades. However, our opponent, once they call pre and they call on this flop, they're going to have a decent amount of medium strength hands, I would say. They could have some pocket 9s, they could have pocket 10s that they've decided not to 3-bet with. I wouldn't say that this is something that they would have very often, but the player that we're up against in particular, I feel like they would be overly tight with this type of holding in level 1. Having said that, I feel like we just want to go ahead and check now, which is what I do, just to try and realise some equity. The river comes the Jack of Diamonds, which again isn't an amazing card, but our opponent now bets 2200, which is pretty small. Alarm bells are kind of ringing here. Not in terms of the fact that I feel like he's got a really strong hand, but I actually believe that he has a medium strength hand and he's just trying to extract thin value now. And his bet is kind of telling us that. My hand obviously isn't good enough to call with. We have king high, we don't really beat anything, and I don't think my opponent is bluffing. However, I do think they have a medium strength hand, and having the Queen of Spades blocker, I feel like this is a really good one to raise with. We can get him to fold his 1-pair holdings. We can get him to fold those type of hands that he was just trying to get that little bit of value from. So what I do is I go ahead and get a little bit spicy for the vlog, raise it up to 8900, and my opponent just folds. The live reads are on point. Let's keep this going. Morale is high, and we're up to 25k. First break, just got back to the room. We're sitting at around 26k from a 20k start stack, which is pretty nice. Played a funky one with King Queen, which you'll have just seen.
But yeah, feeling good. The table's good. There's a couple of good players on there, a couple of known regs, but in general, it seems pretty nice so far. So yeah, feeling good, feeling confident. Let's keep it going.
A good solid player opens in early position to 500, and I look down at ace 5 of hearts in middle position. I elect to 3-bet to 1600. I like to play a lot of hands in these early levels, but I like to play them aggressively, so we make it 1.6. The small blind is quite an aggro player. He's a really nice guy who I know from outside of poker, but in poker we quite often have a few battles, and he elects to make it 4k from the small blind. He called 4 bets. Early position folds and action is back on me. Now, in this scenario, against the majority of players, I just fold. However, I do have a little bit of history with this player. And not only do I have history with this player, this is my first Goliath vlog. And, as I said in the last hand, we're getting a little bit spicy today. So I go for the 5-bet to 8700, and he makes the call. I can see this one going wrong. The flop comes Jack of Hearts, 5 of Spades, 9 of Clubs. This isn't amazing for us, but it's not the worst either. I think our opponent really only smashes this board with pocket jacks. They don't really have pocket 9s. I feel like this player would fold that type of hand to our 5-bet. They obviously never have something like pocket 5s. They could have queens, which is a possibility. I also feel like we can remove kings and aces from their range, because this particular player I feel like would just stick it in pre. As a result of that, we go for a very small c-bet on flop. We make it 3700, and my opponent makes the call. Turn comes an offsuit 9, the 9 of diamonds, and the turn is going to go check check. We could bet here, but I don't really see what it achieves. Are we trying to extract value? Are we trying to bluff? Yes, we could potentially deny some equity to ace king and ace queen, but I don't think we really need to do that very often. The river comes an offsuit 3, and at this point we're very, very happy just to get to showdown. I feel like our opponent doesn't really have any really strong hands anymore. They don't really have something like ace jack, because that folds. We check and we just hope for showdown, and we hope to see a hand such as ace king. Goes check check. We turn our ace 5 suited over. He turns his ace king over. Things are going well. Happy days. We're up to 40k. And not only are we up to 40k, we have a tilted table made as well. We've now moved table, and we have lost a few chips before this hand. Always seems to happen when I move table. We always lose 50% of our stack when we move table. It's just part of tournament poker. This hand in question, early position, a student of mine, an all-round good guy, Phil Baker, opens to 700 at big blind 300. We go for the call in the hijack with the ace of hearts, queen of clubs, and the big blind comes along for the ride as well. It's worth pointing out that the big blind has only just sat down a couple of hands ago and has already got an early double up. Seems eager to get involved, and this hand is going to be no different. The flop comes queen of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 3 of spades. In early position, Phil goes for the c-bet of 900. I decide just to call with the ace queen. We've got top pair, top kicker here. We just make the call, and the big blind comes along too. So family pot, and we're going to a turn. The turn is the 4 of diamonds, which brings in potential flushes. And to my surprise, the big blind leads for 3.2k. Phil quickly folds, and I am not loving life. A lot of recreational players would just start leading with their small flushes here, feeling like they need a lot of protection. However, what I've seen from this guy in the last couple of hands is he's not the type of guy to be scared about his hand. He's not too worried about being outdrawn. So I feel like he hasn't really necessarily just got flushes in his range here, as some recreational players might do. So as a result of this, I think with top pair, top kicker, we just have to call and go to a river. The river is the 7 of spades, and my opponent thinks about it a little while, starts to put some chips in, then goes back, and then decides to put 7400 in. I'm not loving this spot at all, especially against a recreational player, and it's one of those spots where I think normally we just have to make the call, but in this scenario we need to have a look for some live reads. We're playing live, we're at Goliath, live reads are a thing. I tell him that I'm always supposed to call in this spot, just to try and get something from him, trying to get a reaction. As I'm trying to get a read, the guy has just put his sunglasses on. This shows me that he's trying to kind of cover something up, but I need a little bit more. So I ask him a question, and I tell him I'm always supposed to call in this spot, and he doesn't really react. But at this point, I look at him and I can see his neck pulsing. He seems like he is under a lot of pressure at this point, and as a result of that, coupled with the fact that I have top pair, top kicker, we go for the call and we beat ace of diamonds, jack of spades. Feeling like a live read wizard, we're back in the game, we're up to 37.6k. We've been moved tables again, and we all know what that means. That means I have lost half of my stack again. So, starting this hand with around about 35 big blinds. The blinds are 300, 600, and it folds round to the button, who is a competent player, and he opens to 1200. I look down at ace of hearts, jack of hearts, and decide that we are going to go for a 3-bet call. So I make it 4,000, around about 3.5x 3-bet. I feel like our opponent in this spot, with them being a competent player, will have a significant amount of 4-bet jams. So if that's the case, we have to make the decision now. Are we 3-betting to call, or are we 3-betting to fold? And I am 3-betting to call. It works out. The thought process that we had is correct. My opponent decides to stick it all in. I quickly recheck my hand. It's still ace jack of hearts. I'm still not loving it, but we're putting the chips in. We make the call, and our opponent has pocket nines. Let's see if we can win the flip.
Nice hand.
That turn card was a killer. We do not win the flip, and we don't manage to hold. That is going to be GG for the GUKPT £1,250 buy-in. There's still plenty of tournaments in this festival. I might still re-enter this one. GG.
So that turned out to be a very annoying day. I mean, I think I played pretty well for the most part. Some funky lines, some funky hands. It was doing alright, and then obviously just dwindled down a bit, and then that last one, 3-bet ace jack suited from the small blind, 35 effective, he 4-bet jams, we call, we'll lose the flip versus nines. GG. Just trying to work out whether we should go again tonight, or buy in day 2 tomorrow, or just rest and go to the Newcastle match tomorrow. We shall see. In my infinite wisdom, I decided to play the turbo leg, and now I'm back in my bedroom. So that went really well. But yeah, just wasn't to be today. It's just one of those days where I feel like we played well, but unfortunately it just didn't end up working out. A prize pool is insane. I mean, there's what, 640, 650k in the prize pool, which for GUKPT is massive. I think that's a great sign. It's a great sign for the rest of Goliath. The Goliath main event, that's going to be mad. It could even get 10,000 runners again, and with the slightly increased buy-in, the money up top in that is going to be insane. So all is not lost, even though we're out of this one. We still have the high roller, which is going to be on Sunday. We've got loads of other fun stuff as well. We're going to have Joker's Wild. The next few days is going to be a bit more of a fun theme to the vlog. Today was pretty serious in terms of the hands that we had and the approach today. But yeah, it's going to be a bit more fun over the next few days. Lots of fun hand histories to come, lots of fun players. We're going to do some fun interviews as well. Going to show the background of Goliath, speak to some of the floor staff, look at a lot of the extracurricular activities, not just drinking at the bar, but we're going to have a golf day and all this as well. So yeah, stay tuned. Thank you for tuning into this first vlog. I know it's more of a serious one today with a lot of the hands, but that will be changing over the next few days. So yeah, see you soon.